33,000 votes between governor and president. Nothing could be further from the truth. The variance between the presidential and the governor is 24,000 votes. The same can be accounted for stray ballots. He asked the question, what are the stray ballots all over the country? We have to look at all those ballot boxes to get what are the exact stray ballots in those. But I did a bit of analysis, and I've attached the analysis in Kibra and in Makadara. It is 2 per polling station. And the beauty about this is late last night, I also ran an analysis on the scrutiny report that we were given for the 18 polling stations, the report of the registrar. It exactly tallies. The stray ballots, even for that, it's actually 2 per polling stations, even if you looked at the scrutiny report. That gives you a figure of 92,000, the whole of the country, shared between the different ballot boxes. You cannot be able to know how the exact number of them, but that is the average. So if there's a variance of 10, 20,000, that's within, but anything way above that, that cannot be accounted for by the 92,000 becomes very problematic. And I think I have attached that, and if that could run, the court should look at that. So it's 2 per polling station, 92,000, which is accountable. So if there's a variance of 40,000, 50,000, then the court can question that. But anything within that range, that is within the normal range. The second question that Justice Oko asked is, do you have any instances where voters walked into polling station and voted for presidential only? No, we don't have. The integrity of the ballot is very important. If someone comes into our polling station, we give him all the 6 ballot papers. He can do whatever we want with them, but he cannot go out with them. He can put it in the boxes, he can mark them, but he cannot. That's why we're able to account for either through the rejected or the stray ballot. So to the question that someone can vote for one candidate and leave the others, it's not true. It's actually, the regulations don't allow. It's a criminal offense for someone to get out with ballot papers or election material from the ballot box. The second question that has been asked is, Justice Oko said the voter turnout, you say that there were 45,994 polling stations, out of which 46,299 polling stations were identified through KIMS. So only 235 were identified manually, out of which 6 did not have any election taking place because of violence, 229. I think the number you are interested is how many people voted manually, 86,889. 86,889. And the registered voters in those polling stations is 114,917. 114,917. 114,917. The interesting thing is we provided all the KIMS return. If you look at the affidavit of Michael Ouma, we provided all the KIMS returns. So you can check the KIMS returns as against how many people voted manually. Justice Oko also asked a question. Justice Oko asked the question that that is the number of the 86,889. Those are the people who voted manually. So the integrity of this process is very important because the other ones can be accounted for by the kids, right? The second question, Justice Oko said, Omtata says 1,665,412 people curiously voted for when the polls closed. And I think this is a faulty analysis, and you really have to understand how the kit works, right? So when you open the polling station, the kit sends a message that we have opened the polling station, we are ready for action. People pass through it, it sends automatic returns. It pings to the nearest network, sends automatic returns over the period of time. If it's not able to get the network, it will keep that information for the next 2 hours. Yeah. So that is how the number changes. The polling will close, but some kins will be sending the people, how many people went through. And it's only when we know when all the KIMs have transmitted and we know how many people have voted manually that you can be able to look at that.
And Professor Kithure Kindiki, Deputy President and President-elect William Ruto's counsel, had an opportunity to respond to some of the
National Security Advisory Council 4 knew the results before they went there, and 2, why would the result not be announced the next day to build consensus? And 4, what would be the effect of the non-involvement of the 4 commissioners in the verification and tallying vis-a-vis Article 138(3)(c). Our response is as follows. 1, it is our submission that all factors point to an inescapable conclusion that the 4 members of the National Security Advisory Council, by the time they went to the Bomas of Kenya National Tallying Center, and by the time the head of public service placed a call on the returning officer of the presidential election, by that time they knew. And this is our evidence. By the morning of the 15th, letters had been issued by the returning officer of the presidential election, Mr. Chebukati, to all the presidential candidates and members of their family to be at the National Tallying Center for the declaration of results at 3 p.m. on that day. And my client already had received that invitation. I believe the other presidential candidates had those letters. And therefore, they knew by the time these state officers went to the National Tallying Center, they knew that the verification